Now let me go back to Excel and show you some of the tricks here. Let's say we want to do the let's enter some data here and play around with the data. Okay, I'll do more advanced stuff. The decoration and other stuff you should do it yourself. Name, let's say test 1, test 2, test 3, and let's say total. Right, total, and let's say grade. I want to put a grade there. Let's just say instead of test 1, test 2 and total, let's just say delete that. Let's just say coursework. And this one, let's say final exam. So you want us to use the same protocol you used? I mean, entirely up to you. Read the assignment question and see what it wants. I was just showing you how things are done. Okay, some more students, and you can use the same similar stuff that I have shown you. Just read the instructions. The important thing is for you to read the instructions and follow through what you need to do. So let's give some names here. Let's say Tom, Jerry, Mickey, Minnie, Tigger, Pooh, and let's say SpongeBob, Squidward, Patrick. Right. So let's say their coursework is out of 50 marks, just like you guys. Coursework is 50 marks, final exam is 50 marks, total is out of 100. So let's just fill some marks. 45, let's say 25, 43, 41, say 12, 25, 29, 30, 37. Right, so these are the coursework marks, and let's put the final marks here. Let's say out of 50 they got say 45 again, 29, 31, 35, 34, 65. Oops, not 65, it's out of 50. So let's say this guy got 100 out of 100 finally. Worked really hard in the final exam and got the good mark. 38, 44 and 18. Alright, so final exam L, that's exam. Total will be what? Simple, just add this plus this. Enter, copy and paste. Use the fill handle to do this. Now I want to fill the grades here, but I want to do it automatically, assuming I have got say 1000 students here in this list. Okay, so of course you want to probably find average, maybe the highest and maybe the lowest. So I'll put the function here, and you can put this all in center. Let's say equals average, and then you can select the data range here like that, or you can type it yourself, press enter. So that's done. Let's say highest equals maximum, and it will be what? C3 to C11, I suppose. Type it, try and type everything. Min C3 to C11, close, done. So you've got all these three functions logged in. You know they are correct, so highlight that, take the mouse pointer to the fill handle here at the bottom, drag and drop all the way. So this one will say 0 because it doesn't know what you are doing, so that one we don't need it. And this one maybe you can reduce the decimal size, so you can just click on that to 1 decimal place, highlight all the columns and adjust it automatically. Let's try to fill this with the grade using the VLOOKUP function, and I'll show you some other important functions that you can use in Excel. So if you want to use the VLOOKUP function, let me just put the grade range here that normally we use in ISF21. So I'll use the same grade range, 0. The next one is 39. Sorry, the next one is 40, and then 50. And then you got 57, then you got 64, then you got 71, and then you got 78, and then we got 85. So these are the marks that we normally have. This one is E grade, this one is D grade, this one is C grade, this is C plus, this is B grade, and anything above 71 is B plus, anything above 78 or including 78 is A, anything above 85 or 85 is A plus. So this is the grade range. See how I've written it in this small table here. I put it on center so that you can see what it looks like. Can you see that? So I'll just put here merge and center, and I'll say grade table. Grade table. Alright, so that's the grade table. This is the range of my grade. We can put this in the left line, but I'll indent it to make it look neat so that it's aligned professionally. Okay, I want to put the grade here using my VLOOKUP function. So I'll just say equals and then VLOOKUP, vertical lookup. That means look vertically at this table here. So which value I want to look at. So it says here VLOOKUP, and then it says lookup value. Which value do I want to look up? I want to look up at the total value that is stored in this cell here. So which cell is that? That cell is E3. So I'll just type here E3. Alright, not there. I'll type here lookup value is E3. There you go. So it is highlighted that cell. Then it says put a comma. So I'll put a comma, and then it says table array. Which table are you going to pull the value from? I'm going to look for the total value, and then which other value you want to pull from. So I want to pull from this table range here. So I highlight this table array. Can you see that? From I2 to J9. From I2 to J9. That is the table range that I'm going to use. I2 to J9. Then it says put a comma again. Can you see a small comma there? Put a comma. Then it says put the column index number. So now I want to type the column index number. So I've got the table range from which I want to pull the value. So which value I want to pull and display it here in the grade column? Do I want these numbers to be shown, or do I want to show the grades here? I want to show the grades. Look at this table range. It has got how many columns here? It has got first column, second column. So it has got only two columns, and I want to return the values from the second column only. So I'll just type here number 2, because that is the column index that I'm using to return the values. Alright, and then it says put the comma again. Then it says whether to put true or false here. False would mean exact match, but here I have given a range from 0 to 40, from 40 to 50, from 50 to 57, from 57 to 64, 64 to 71. That is a range. So I cannot get an exact match. I can get an approximate match. So I'll type true there. It says true for approximate match, false for exact match. So I will type true there to represent approximate match. So now my VLOOKUP function is complete. It says lookup value, which is the E3 value. In this case, E3 has got my total for Tom, and I will look at my table array. I will look up for the grade. That's why it's called VLOOKUP function. Vertical lookup. I will look vertically in this table. That's vertical lookup. I will look vertically in this table, and then I will return the results from the second column, and I have to write true here because I want approximate match, because this is containing only the range. So I press enter. So it gives me A plus because 90 is more than 85. So it gives me A plus. So now if I copy and paste this, you notice that something else is happening. Right, this one says not applicable, not applicable, not applicable, not applicable. Can you see that? That means this not applicable is not really not applicable. That means not available. Right, the value is not available there. So why does it say that? It says that because if you look at this one, my table range value is I2 to J9. Can you see that? But when I copied and pasted there, it changed to I3 to J10. It shifted down one row because it copied one row below. And look at this one. So this one says I6. So this one does not have the range here. Can you see that? So it is highlighting the wrong cells. So to make these keep looking at the same cell, I will make these two here, the table range, as absolute. So I press F4 to make it absolute. At the moment, because that was happening because it was called a relative cell referencing. That means the cells were changing automatically according to the original relationship. So you want to protect that from happening by putting a absolute reference here. How do I put the absolute reference? You just put the $sign before and after the alphabet or the column reference. Before and after the column reference, you put the $sign. So I put the $sign before and after I put the $sign before and after J. So that makes it absolute. Now if I copy and paste this function, it will not change. It will give me correct results. So this one is still looking at I2 to J9. This one is still looking at I2 to J9. This one is still looking at I2 to J9. So that's how you keep the particular cell reference fixed when you are copying and pasting. So this has done the grading by using the VLOOKUP function. Now I want to do another thing. I want to see number of students who have failed or number of students who have passed. So let's say number, I'll just write here number failed, and you can say number passed. At the moment nobody is failing, so let's just see number failed if it works. So I'll use another function called COUNTIF. There are two ways in this case you can do that. I'll use the mathematical notation, so you can just use COUNTIF function. COUNTIF, then it says range. You want to count from which range? So I want to count from the total range, this cell here, from E3 to E11, put a comma, and then now I have to put my criteria. From that range, what is it that you are looking for? I am looking for everyone who got, so I put it in double quotes. In the double quotes, I will put there the criteria. So my criteria here is less than 50. That means anybody who's got less than 50 for the total mark, obviously they have failed. So close the bracket, press enter. It says 0. That means nobody failed. At the moment you look at the marks here, nobody got less than 50. Even if you look at the grades here, nobody has got D grade or E grade. So number passed, same thing. You can copy and paste, but I'll write it again so that you can see what's happening. Equals COUNTIF. That means count if this condition is true. So I'll say this again, put the range here from F3 to F11, put a comma, and then put a double quote, and then put my criteria greater than equal to 50. Everybody getting more than 50 or equal to 50, that means they have passed. So press enter. Oops, I forgot to put what? I forgot to put the closing quote here. So let me put the closing quote there. Now enter. So it still says 0. Why do you think it's saying 0? Oh, I have chosen F3 to, it should have been what? It should have been E3 to E11. Now it's correct. Press enter. So it says 9. There are 9 students. So I'll put here number, and I'll put here 1, 2, 3, and I'll fill this up so that you can count as well how many students are there easily. And this is on the center. Okay, let me put it on the right. So there you go. This is the number of students, 9 students, all of them passed. Now let me fail somebody. So let's just say this one is failed, E grade. So it says now 1 failed, 8 passed. Can you see that? Even if I change this to 25, it is still going to be a fail. It is still a E grade. So this one, let's say 20. It's now a D grade, but it's still a fail. So I hope you can follow how to use the COUNTIF function, or even the if function if you want. And I want to put a comment here. So there are 2 ways to do that. I have done this the mathematical way using the notations like greater than 50 or less than 50. Now I want to put a comment here. Let's say I want to put a comment using the if function. This one, just to put one comment. So I'll say if, using if what? If this is, let's say this cell here, the total mark is greater than equal to 50, I put a comma, then it says what value if true. That means what to display if this condition is true. So you put your logical test first. I'm putting the logical test here. I'm checking if this value is greater than equal to 50. Then I want to say if that is true, what to display on this cell, or what to put in this cell. So what if it is true, I want to say simply passed. And if it is false, put a comma there, then it says value if false. So put it in double quotes again. And if this condition is false, that means it is not more than 50. Obviously, value if false means you put there failed. Close, enter, done. So this one passed, and there you go. So it says pass, only one failed. So now instead of writing this function here using the mathematical notation, I can change the cell reference and count the number of students who have passed based on these comments. So that's another way to do it. So I can change this to, in fact I will not change it, but I'll write the same thing, but I'll write it here separately. I'll again say count if, but I'll choose this range here now from G3 to G11, put a comma, and in double quotes I will type passed. In this case I want the failed, and then close the bracket, enter. So it says 1 again. Can you see that? And do the same thing again, equals count if, and then again range G3 to G11, comma, double quote, and this one is passed. So I'll just write here passed because I'm just looking at that particular content. Done. So it says 8. So either I use this function using a mathematical notation, or I put the comment here using the if function like that. So if I change someone else to fail, so another failed here with a 2 grade. Can you see that? So that is how you can do that, people. So now it says 2 failed and 7 passed, and you can also work percentage pass rate and things like that. So this is how we use the VLOOKUP function, and this is how we use the if function and the count if function, and this will really help you with your assignment too. Right, any other questions you want to ask me? Now is a good time to do so. Simple formula update and increase in cell. Let's say Tom's mark increased in the final exam by, say, this one he got 30, but instead of putting 45 here, let's say his mark increased in the final exam by 10% of this one. So how will we put the formula there? I'll say equals C3 times what? Can somebody tell me? If it increases 10%, that means it is 100% of this 30 plus 10% of 30. So that means the mark over here should be 33. Get it? So find 10% of this. That means C3 times 10% plus C3. So it says C3 times 10%. In Excel, if you write percent there with beside the number, it will automatically take this number and divide it by 100. So if I say 10% sign, Excel will take this number 10 and divide this by 100. So that will become 0.1, but I have to edit. So I say plus C3 again. So that will give me 33. There you go. That is one way of doing it. Or I can simply say C3, instead of putting there 10%, you can put 0.1, and still it will be the same answer. Or I can use, instead of 0.1, you can put here 1 divided by 10. Now I can use 1 divided by 10, I can use 10 over 100, I can use 100 over 1000, whatever fraction I use, as long as it comes to 0.1. Or why go through all the hassle? Just type here 10%. Done. So this is doing 10% of C3 first and then adding it to the value of C3. So instead of doing all that, I could have done simply this. C3 times 110%. That means 100% of C3. Sorry, percent. That is another way to do that. That means that is the increase of 10%. 110%. There you go. And let's say Mickey's mouse decreased by 5%. So a simple thing to do here, the formula would be equals Mickey's mark, which is in C5, times. Now for you to do the subtraction, maybe you can get confused slightly. So 5% decrease from 100% would mean it is 95% of the original value. So you just say 95% times 95%. That means Mickey's final exam mark is 95% of the coursework mark. That means his final exam mark decreased by 5% of his coursework mark. That is another way of looking at it. So you really have to understand what the question is asking when you are doing the decrease part. Okay, so there you go. The long cut way would have been this. The long cut way would have been this, equals this minus, so C5, that means 43 minus again C5 times 5%. So that would be the proper mathematical way to do it. That means whatever is the total mark at the moment in the coursework minus 5% of that total mark. So that will give me the same answer, 40.85. But why go through those hassle? It just says C5 times 95%. Again, like I said, when you watch these videos over and over again, and this one you can round it off. This whole total column you can round it off to 0 decimal places. So it does a good rounding off, and then it will give the grade based on those round off. And this one you can round it off to, let's say, 1 decimal place. And this one too, maybe you can say 1 decimal place. There you go. So you can give some marks there with the decimal values as well, and then it will give you again the same things basically over here. So students, that pretty much covers the Word and Excel pretty much in detail. Next week I will try and go over Microsoft Excel with some of the queries if you are still struggling with the queries. But before you actually do your assignments too and go through all those queries and everything, what you can do is, what you guys can really do is go and do your practicals, because all these things that I have explained here today is covered very, very nicely with the videos, with the text for you to read. So you really cannot be complaining about, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do that. Everything is there on Moodle under the practical.